Welcome, class, to this third module. We're going to be talking today with Erik Gensler, who is the founder of Capacity Interactive in New York City. Capacity Interactive is one of the leading, if not leading, marketing service organizations or service companies for performing arts and museums and so on. And the whole area of digital marketing has of course become, larger than life for most arts organizations. And what Erik's company offers is services that oftentimes an organization itself really can't afford to have and on a regular basis. And we're going to talk about a number of different things with regard to, why, first of all, digital marketing is important for the arts, the kind of media involved with it, the social media, of course, video, analytics, and lead generation. And so I won't go into all of that, but let me just, first of all, welcome Erik to our Roosevelt University class. Welcome, Erik.
Thanks, Charlie. Hello. As Charlie said, digital marketing has become more and more important to every organization, and arts organizations are no exception. Our entire business is built around helping the arts and culture become better with digital marketing, and we say it's about engaging audiences, building a community, and using data to market smarter. It's a screenshot of our office. I'm actually sitting in one of those rooms right now. We work with the leading arts and cultural institutions across the country, including Seattle Symphony, where Charlie works. And we also offer an annual conference called Digital Marketing Bootcamp for the Arts, which is 2 days of digital marketing training for arts administrators in New York City. We also offer a program called Capacity Classroom, which is webinars and group workshops around digital marketing topics. So we are very committed to helping educate the sector around digital marketing, which is why I'm so happy to be here today. So the first thing I want to talk about is this. Many arts organizations are not investing enough in DR infrastructure. And I joke that this is what the subway looked like when I moved to New York City in 2000. We had phones. They weren't quite smartphones yet, and we still read the newspaper. But now this is what the subway looks like, and we are addicted to our devices. I like this picture because one guy is still reading a book. So we're not in the world where we're completely digital, but we are very, very digital. You see someone on their computer, someone on their phone, someone on their either, I think that might be a Kindle. But every time I get on the subway, I just notice more and more that people are sitting and staring at their devices. And even when people aren't on their devices and they're quote unquote consuming traditional media like watching TV, we know there's this second screen phenomenon. So indeed they're on social media, or they're messaging or text messaging while they're watching a TV show. The amount of time we spend on our phones is staggering. I have an app called Checky that tells me how many times I check my phone on a daily basis, and it's horrifying. It's between 100 and 200 times a day. You should download it and try that for yourself. But as smart marketers, we have to be where the eyes and ears are, and that is on digital devices more and more. Charlie, do you have a question?
Oh, no, I was just shocked at the number of times you checked your email. Because I'm thinking to myself, it's probably the same amount for me.
You should do it. It's, Checky, C-H-E-C-K-Y. There's been studies done about our addiction to phones and screen time that we're spending, and studies have shown that when someone gets a like on social media or a text message or a response, there's like a dopamine and serotonin release in the body. So there's actually, it's pleasurable, and it leads to this sort of addictive behavior where we're constantly on our devices. And as marketers, that's where we have to be. And the skills required to be on these devices as a marketer are very different than the skills required to be on television or to send direct mail or to do a radio commercial. So if we look at the data here, over the last 4 or 5 years, you see the purple line, which is print newspaper, and this is time spent with media, declining. You see radio flatlining. And you see TV going down, and the only media that is going up is screen time, where on average people are spending 6 hours a day either in front of a PC, a phone, or a tablet. So this is very out of line with how many arts organizations are allocating their media budgets. 48% of arts organizations spend under 20% of their ad budget on digital. We know this because we do a benchmark survey every year, and we had over 130 organizations answer our survey this year. And this is, I thought this number would really dramatically move this last year. We've done the survey for 3 or 4 years now, and this number continues to remain very low. 40% of the organizations that responded spent under 15% on digital, and we want to understand why. But first, let's look at U.S. total ad spend by medium across all industries. And you see here, TV, in terms of spending, has is close to 40% and stays close to 40%. And I would argue if you're a massive brand advertiser, Geico or a Pepsi-Cola, you can be on TV because you're just interrupting people. You're interrupting ordinary people. You have big brand budgets. The arts doesn't have that luxury. We can't afford to interrupt millions of people and have lots of waste. We're not selling our product to everyone. We have to be much more targeted, which is why I believe that digital is a much better place than television for most arts organizations, which we'll talk about more. But you look here, the growth from digital in 2011 to 20% of spend to forecasted next year to 33%, that's a massive increase. That's a 50% growth. And that is coming from print dollars and radio dollars. Outdoor is holding steady, and directory, as I had to look up what that is, that's the phone book. So it's not just an arts problem. It's a lot of industries are still really playing catch up in how to transfer to become a digital first organization to be where the eyes and ears are. And I'm going to give you some tips about that. We know from a study that Google commissioned from the independent research company Ipsos that more people find out about events by browsing the internet than they do from word of mouth or ads. And I'm sure to you as a student that is not surprising. We also know that more than half of arts tickets sold, and this is again from our survey of 130 arts and cultural organizations, more than half of tickets were sold online in 2015. When you look at like the ballet, it's closer to 60–65%. That's pulled down a little bit by a couple other, like opera's a little lower than 50%, but on average across everyone we surveyed, it's 51%, which means that at least 51% are regularly using the computer. I get still some skepticism from executive directors or from people who are sort of the older guard that are skeptical of digital. But we know at least half of the people are using their devices or a computer to buy tickets. So at least half of your audience is pretty comfortable with digital. And it's amazing we're even having this conversation in this day and age. So we wanted to dig a little deeper and understand why. Why are we getting resistance to investing more in digital? So we've asked this question for 4 years of our benchmark study. What is the biggest obstacle for digital marketing initiatives? Well, I'm happy to report that it's not no leadership support. Only a fifth of organizations report that. Larger areas, people report there's not enough budget. And I would say that's not enough budget's probably not the reason, because I think with most organizations, if there's a good case to be made, budget will be found. But the other three in the middle dictate the budget challenge. Determining ROI is a challenge for about half of organizations, saying they don't have enough internal knowledge because digital, like I said earlier, requires specific skills. And then no clear digital strategy, still about 40% of organizations indicate they have no clear digital strategy. Well, all of those are related to not enough budget. If you can't determine ROI, if you don't have internal knowledge, if you can't determine a strategy, you're certainly not going to get the budget to fund it. So at Capacity, we really work on helping people determine ROI, supplement their knowledge and give them knowledge through training, and help them develop a digital strategy. And sure enough, we find that once we do that, there's more internal support and more budget can move to digital.
So is there a kind of, just to back up a second, is there it also strikes me there's a bit of fear about digital sometimes too. I think also arts organizations just get bound up in doing it the way they've done it, and they can count on, they think they can count on print, et cetera, but it just seems to me that that's less and less actually the case. And
I think that's true, definitely. Good.
I know the Boston Symphony pulled out of print advertising in the newspaper several years ago, and I don't know that they've seen any sort of real decline in their sales as a result of that.
I mean, I have case study after case study of organizations that have had the same thing happen where, an example I talk about a lot is Jacob's Pillow, the dance festival in the Berkshires. And the first year we worked with them, I think it was 4 seasons ago, they basically dramatically reduced their print buy to support Facebook. And the first year they did that, they had their best sales season ever. And each year subsequently we worked with them, they took their money out of print and doubled down in social media and storytelling. And every year we've broken their sales records. Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater in New York every single year has halved the amount of money they're spending in the New York Times with no negative result on sales.
So doing that really does lead into this next part of your presentation about if you're going to go digital, you need to create some content.
That's a great segue. The way we like to say that is you must become a media company. And I don't care if you're selling paper clips or car insurance, you need to be a media company. Why does Geico have a gecko? Because car insurance is really boring. But luckily, the arts is not. And storytelling as arts administrators and arts marketers is, I think, the most important thing that we can do. And storytelling is fundamental to who we are as human beings. Going back here to the days of telling stories on cave walls. But unfortunately, many arts organizations are still telling stories like it's the 1950s or maybe the 1980s. And the next piece of what I want to talk about is a sort of a fundamental shift in the media landscape. And the last 20 years has been the most dramatic shift in how human beings communicate in all of human history, and it's happened faster than in all of human history. It took 39 years for the telephone to reach a significant market penetration where it was a viable network, meaning I think it was a 50% market penetration or 40 or 50% market penetration. It took the smartphone 2 years. So the speed of that, the speed of which cell phones, there are more Androids sold per day than babies being born. I mean, hundreds of thousands of new devices in people's hands, and now people have multiple devices. Marketers have to catch up to that behavior. For years and years and years, like you said, I've been doing it the same way. Change is hard. Change is scary. Change takes time, and especially conservative traditional organizations like most arts organizations are, not necessarily on the stage, they're more risk takers. When it comes to their business practices, they tend to be slow moving. There's boards, they're oftentimes slightly bureaucratic. They need a lot of consensus to make change. They haven't changed as quickly as the marketplace has. So what I next want to talk about is the theory of permission marketing by this man here named Seth Godin. Seth Godin is a marketing expert, guru, and philosopher. You can Google Seth in Google, and I recommend signing up for his daily emails. He is a genius. And I mentioned our digital marketing boot camp, and Seth actually presented at the first boot camp. Seth is a TED Talk speaker. He speaks at keynotes of massive marketing conferences, and somehow I convinced him to come speak to our tiny little boot camp 6 years ago when there were 50 people in the audience. Seth wrote this book called Permission Marketing in 1999, where he foresaw the future. And what he talks about with permission marketing is, well, you have to compare that to what he calls interruption marketing, which is the kind of marketing that most people know, where you're reading the newspaper and there's a full-page ad to interrupt you to buy something, or you're watching TV and there's a commercial. That's interruption marketing. Permission marketing is more about building a relationship. So interruption marketing here is the family sitting around watching I Love Lucy. To catch the next segment of I Love Lucy, back when it originally aired in the 50s, you had to watch this Ford commercial. You may not be in the market for a Ford, but you want to watch the next segment of I Love Lucy, so you watch the Ford commercial. Then Ford has more money to buy more TV commercials, more newspaper ads, and even more TV commercials. And they sell a lot of Fords. And that process works really, really, really well for many, many, many years, because if you wanted to consume media, you needed to consume advertising. But then in 1999, the same year permission marketing came out, the TiVo was invented. And an industry was changed, and now the control of media was now in the hands of the consumer. And that rolled out to every single media. The Spotify, we no longer have to listen to commercials. We can, listen to satellite radio or listen to Spotify, and for a small fee, have no commercial interruption. Consumers have the power of the delete button. Email used to have humongous open rates, and now marketers have ruined email. Spam does not work. You have to build a permission-based relationship. The idea of interrupting people is really like renting space. So if you wanted to reach an audience 20 years ago, you would buy an ad in the art section of your local newspaper. You're renting that newspaper's space, and you have to continually pay that newspaper every time you want to talk to your audience. That's a great arrangement for the newspaper. That's a terrible arrangement for an arts organization because it's their audience. It's not your audience. So permission marketing, which is the opposite of that, which Seth Godin talks about, defines it as turning strangers into friends, friends into customers, and customers into evangelists. So how do you do this in the digital world? Like Charlie said, it's about content creation, content in the form of compelling video, blog posts, podcasts, social content, great imagery. This is where the storytelling comes in. You create great content, people are going to pay attention to it. They're going to raise their hand. They're going to give you more permission. If I see a great social post come at me from an arts organization and I'm really into it, I'm going to like that organization because I want more. So once I raise my hand by joining an email list or liking on social media or even going to a website where I'm now in the remarketing pool, and what I mean by that is, if you go to an arts organization website, hopefully if they're set up with remarketing, you'll start to see their banner ads, you'll start to see their social posts more because you're now a pixeled user on their website. That's remarketing. We're targeting people based on their behavior on a website. That's a form of permission marketing because we're now speaking to people who are qualified. You're now my audience. If you follow me on social media or you're on my email list or you're in my remarketing pool, you're much further down the funnel. You're not a stranger anymore. So I'm going to have to tell you good stories to get you to convert, to come even further down the funnel and buy a ticket. So that's where the permission-based communications and storytelling further comes in. And eventually you tell good stories, you send good email, you engage enough people, you have shows that people want to see, and you get the message in front of them, you're going to sell a ticket. Hopefully people have a great experience, and the process will continue. So that's sort of the framework of permission marketing, and now I'm going to jump into these next 4 areas that we will hopefully breeze through. Any questions, Charlie?
No, I think I'm glad you brought up Seth Godin because I remember buying his book early on and was just I thought it was so transformative, and it's funny because I still am sort of surprised at how lagging our part of the industry is, or our performing arts marketing side is. I guess it just goes to show you it takes time for these transformations to begin to take place.
Absolutely, and they're fundamental. I mean, to truly become a digital-first company, they're major transformations. I don't, in no way do we want to say that this stuff is super easy. It just requires inertia.
Yeah, I think the other thing that's interesting too is this notion of the sales funnel and sort of linear approach to buying, because one of the things that's also occurred now with digital marketing and social media is that it's no longer linear. People can come in at all sorts of points along the funnel. They can be cruising along at one website, see an ad, buy something right on the spot. There's no need to, build awareness, et cetera, et cetera. That's also an interesting thing that you can now jump stages in all of this.
That's true. But however, we do see, a big pattern now of people visiting sites multiple times before purchasing, particularly with mobile, where people are coming back 3, 4, 5 times on mobile and then ultimately converting on a desktop. So they're doing that research. And arts is something that, you want to see. You hear about something, you email your friend, find a date, you have to go back a few times, pick your seat. And then, so that's really one of the other, you bring up a point about that makes things something else is the importance of mobile, of being on a mobile device and being present on mobile for that research piece.
Yep.
Even if people are buying on a desktop. So we'll talk a little bit more about mobile. Let's jump into social media. organizations often, when we start working with them, we'll talk about how they're on every social platform. And Snapchat's not on here, which is certainly an important one as well. But organizations will say, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Pinterest, I'm on, all these different platforms. But I always jump back to this slide and say, whoa, like, where are your users? And the arts audience is primarily on Facebook. And Facebook is the 800-pound gorilla, over a billion and a half users. Instagram has a solid following, but compared to Facebook, it's a much smaller universe. So we always say, get Facebook right and then worry about these other platforms. Facebook is really a gold mine for arts organization for its ability to tell stories and target people brilliantly. And it's all ages on Facebook. Of course, the 18 to 29-year-olds are there, but the real sweet spot is the art ticket buyer between 30 and 65. For some opera and symphonies, you do get a little older. Some theaters, but the fastest growing segment is the older people, and this data is a little old now. So I would guess the percentage of internet users on Facebook who are 65 plus has even grown more. And the good thing about older users on Facebook, they love to click things, and they will click your social posts. This is a quick case study about the importance of just staying attuned to social media. Jacob's Pillow, again, which I mentioned earlier, they pay a lot of attention to the Facebook algorithm. And the way Facebook ranks something in your newsfeed is they want to deliver the most relevant content. So the way they know that is you're clicking on that content. So if I like Jacob's Pillow and 3 months goes by and I never click Jacob's Pillow stuff again, I'm not going to see Jacob's Pillow content. So as an arts marketer, what you want to do is put content that people engage with. And you also need to follow Facebook's algorithm, which changes often. And about a year or so ago, a year and a half ago, they went from serving 1 billion videos per day to 8 billion videos per day. So they were favoring organizations that were putting out video content because YouTube was their competitor and Facebook wanted to be the home of native video on the web. So as publishers put out video, they would show it more. And this was a screenshot from last February where Jacob's Pillow recognized the importance of video, started posting all these rehearsal videos, and you can see here, 27,000 people watched this. This is pretty staggering for putting no money behind this post. They reached this appeared in 90,000 news feeds, and over the week that this thing went out, and this is February. Jacob's Pillow is a summer festival. They did not have any performances for months. During the week that this video went out and they posted all those videos, they reached 1 million people organically just by putting up great, compelling content. And the reason I put that number out there is in contrast to the New York Times weekday print circulation, where if they were to buy a full page out of the New York Times, they would not have reached 1 million people, and it certainly would not have been so inexpensive. And so I think this is a very good illustration of how the world of marketing has changed and the importance of social storytelling versus sort of the old way of buying media.
Yeah, that's great.
Talking about your voice on social media and your strategy for what you post, George Takei is a great example. You may or may not know who he is from Star Trek. He has about 10 million followers on Facebook. And George posts stuff like this. And it's silly, right? But he has, how many people? 79,000 people shared this, 38,000 people like this, or this. 126,000 people liked it, 43,000 people shared it. It's silly, right? But what does George care about? It was this musical he was promoting about the internment camps during World War II. And the point of this is that here he got almost 7,000 people sharing this post, which raised awareness of an issue that he really cared about. And my point is, if he had just come and posted this, no one would have paid attention to it. But he built an audience by giving people what they want. So we talk about the 70-30 rule. 70% of your posts need to be about giving people what they want, whether that's behind the scenes content, whether that's compelling videos. It has to be something that touches, human emotion. It has to be funny or smart or clever or interesting in some way. And I think that's one of the hardest things about social media is native storytelling. I think this is a wonderful social media post. Jacob's Pillow, again, does this very, very well. Here we have a beautiful dancer in an impossible pose in nature with a dog. When in doubt, add an animal. But this did not just appear. This took a lot of work. This took a lot of strategy. This took a lot of thought. And we use this post every year in their campaigns because it's such a powerful one and it's such a good post. 274 people shared that. And the share is very important because the share is an endorsement. If I'm sharing something and someone sees that I shared it, it's more powerful than just seeing it directly from their organization. When you go to Jacob's Pillow and you watch a performance there, this is not the experience. You're sitting in a dark barn with no air conditioning. But they've engineered their social media presence to really tell a story of this mystical place, which Jacob's Pillow is. I'm just saying they put their best foot forward in their social storytelling. This is a post I just grabbed today for this presentation. It's a client we recently started working with, the Actors Theater of Louisville. I mean, this is an incredibly compelling photo. Whether you like Macbeth or not, you're going to pay attention to this. This is what we call a thumb stopper. And I love how it's branded with the Actors Theater of Louisville, the logo here with that same swipe as their brand. A great quote, and then a really strong call to action. This is an excellent social post. I think this is a thumb stopper too. It's a client we work with. It's a natural history museum in Philadelphia. You know, you have dinosaurs, put them front and center, and this works really, really well for them. Again, short, punchy copy, strong call to action, really compelling thumb-stopping photo. 70% of Facebook is absorbed on a mobile device, so it's really important that you storytell correctly on mobile. I don't like this post because this continue reading here. This is not optimized for mobile. You want to put as much of the important content and the link above the continue reading. You also want to use an image that's mobile friendly. It's hard to tell what this is on a tiny little mobile real estate. Same with this one, continue reading. This is not leveraging the link post here very well. This is a very strong mobile post, thumb-stopping image that you can very clearly see what's on the mobile device. Lots of white space, call to action above the continue reading. So we really want to create your content for mobile when it comes to social. So 80% content that, you know, with George Takei was the snakes on a plane or how did you hear about the YMCA, that's hard for arts organizations. The sales stuff is a little easier. And so we say being topical increases relevance and makes connections. And so this Venn diagram here shows what's happening in the world, what's happening in your organization, and where overlap is where you should focus your social. I love this from Opera Philadelphia. They just grab from their archives. We often forget as arts marketers, we have great archives. You don't have to use photos from the current season. Dig back, find stuff that's relevant. Think about the holidays coming up. Think what's going on in the world. I love this from the Lyric Opera of Chicago. We don't have Hamilton on tickets, but we do opera, lyricopera.org, and that was around the time of the Tonys. Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts, they photoshopped a shark in their pool. This took about 10 minutes. And they use this every year during Shark Week. And 115 people shared this, and they got a ton of new likes by doing content like this, completely free. I always say, if you're a destination, if you're an iconic building or place within a city, all you need is a pretty sunset, and you're going to grow your social following. Using strong quotes with this beautiful imagery, the Kennedy Center does an amazing job with their social content. What we're really looking for in this is A, building our permission database. This is people liking our content, and B, sharing it. Again, those impressions. Doing something that people want to share, and also the ability to reuse content. This is something Jacob's Pillow reuses every year. They just slapped a tutu on the sign and take of it, and 300 people shared it. And when 300 people share it, they're probably reaching 500 people each. So that's a significant reach for free. So I want to talk about advertising on Facebook, because it used to be that organic posting was enough. You could post organically on Facebook without putting any money behind it and really sell a ton of tickets. But now Facebook has the eyes that the newspaper has, and you need to Facebook as a platform. So Charlie, this may look familiar, this awesome video about Seattle Symphony, and we posted this here. and we put about $1,500 of media behind it, which is not a very large investment for a Facebook campaign. But because of Facebook's incredibly powerful, A, the size of their audience, and B, their ability to target the right people if done well, that sold $81,000 of ticket sales, both of subscriptions here. So it's almost shooting fish in a barrel. That's an insane ROI. And I didn't put this up here as a, our best example. We see this quite a bit. Now, 5,000 ROI, 5,000% ROI is incredibly high, and there were a lot of renewals in here. It was giving the message to get people to renew, which is incredibly important. But I'd say we consistently see ROIs from 200% to 2,000% on Facebook for our clients. It's really a near perfect medium for arts organization because the audience is there. People spend on average 50 minutes a day on the Facebook platforms. It's really the people who used to spend that time in their eyeballs are now on Facebook. 1 out of every 5 seconds on a mobile device is on Facebook. And Facebook offers all these powerful targeting techniques. When we're looking down the funnel here, the top is acquisition, targeting friends of fans. People who like the symphony have friends who like the symphony. Interest targeting, we want to target people who like symphony, or the symphony, or classical music. We want to target lookalikes, which is a modeling option that Facebook finds. If you've put Facebook code on your site, or you upload your email address to Facebook, Facebook can find people that behave similarly to the people that are already in your audience. And then our mid-funnel targets, which is targeting your fans, targeting your CRM list, which is uploading your email list, and remarketing, which is, again, connecting behavior on your website to then seeing posts within Facebook. All right, I could talk about social media for hours. Charlie, how are we on time?
I think we're good. It's time to move on to video because this is a really interesting area too.
And if we had more time, I'd show some video. I recommend if you go to the Capacity Interactive YouTube channel, we have a ton of great arts marketing videos, that we think do a great job in telling story on video. We have a reel of about 10 different videos, and then we're adding videos all the time. But like with social, and I was talking about with the permission marketing model as well, the old way was about buying media. Now it's about creating content, promoting that content, and of course you still have to buy some media, but we prefer a lot of that media is digital. This is sort of a fundamental slide in this presentation. And video is where it's at. 89 million people in the United States are going to watch 1.2 billion online videos today. Millennials are spending a lot of time on video, and the convergence between video and mobile is a really powerful digital trend. We know from Google that performing arts ticket buyers watch 5 million YouTube videos every month, and more than half of U.S. users who visit Facebook daily watch at least one video, and more than half of YouTube views and 2/3 of Facebook videos are on a mobile device. 26% of people in this Google study reported online video as the most influential in impacting their likelihood to go to a performance. I know before I plop $100 down on a ticket, I'm going to try to find video of what I'm going to see. We know that online video influences behavior. This is a study that Google did of 2,000 ticket buyers, and 45% said they think more favorably about a show once they've seen a video, and 68% video influences a purchase. And we're in a lucky position. We're not selling car insurance or paper clips. We're selling something that people love. And it's a perfect place for YouTube and Facebook. 68% of YouTube users say it's a place to celebrate creativity. And this is something we often say, the content of your video should be as compelling as the work you put on your stage. No one wants to watch an artistic director talk about how great the season is for 5 minutes. We want to be entertained. We want to be inspired. We want to be educated. Now, is an artistic director talking about the season a bad thing? No, but it needs to go to the right audience. It's certainly not an acquisition vehicle. If you're sending something to your longtime subscribers and they know the artistic director, that's compelling. But you need videos up and down the marketing funnel. So, something like this video up here, which is a 15-second trailer, and something down here, which is a longer form story produced by the New York City Ballet. I think New York City Ballet has really awesome videos, but you need to produce video up and down the marketing funnel. And Charlie, that goes back to what you're talking about, where it's not always linear. but you need to have content that supports people in different relationships with you. The thumb-stopping video to get attention on social media, and then the deeper engagement video that you would send over email or target on social to people who are donors or subscribers.
Yeah, I would add one. I was just going to add one thing here, and that is that we found ourselves sort of classifying video into three categories: the sort of long form that you referred to there, with an interview with a music director and a guest artist. Then the sort of videos that we found that we could produce in-house, that the one you referred to earlier that had the 5,000% ROI, that didn't require a lot of work and kind of got to the point pretty quickly. And then some other videos that we've begun doing that are much more creative, and we don't do in-house, in fact, but are meant to help push along a concert or two that might not otherwise get the attention it deserves, but offer a kind of quirkier way into that particular concert. And by quirky, I mean just something a little more offbeat, something more than just showing the orchestra with sweeping shots of the orchestra and people playing the cello, which is a really tough thing for orchestras. And I know in our class we have a lot of people that are in the orchestra world, so that's a challenge.
Definitely. I mean, I use the number of dance examples. I'm not going to lie. It's just much easier if you have beautiful dancers. And that can do impossible poses. It's easier. So you really have to get creative in your storytelling if you're, if you're, a symphony or even a theater, because lots of times their rehearsal periods are so tight for theaters that getting, actors to even have the time to do anything, often organizations rely on animation or other ways to tell stories. Again, definitely check out our reel of great arts examples. We firmly have seen this and believe this: video drives higher conversions and average order values. This is a study done where a bunch of retailers did A/B testing of pages of their site where they added or removed videos, and most of them saw an increase in conversion when video was added to the product pages. We've certainly seen that in our client work. And average order value for half of the organizations that did this study — this is not arts organizations, it's retailers, but it's a pretty comprehensive study — 50% saw a higher average order value for people who watch videos. We've seen that as well in the arts. All right, we're moving quickly here onto analytics. 90% of arts organizations feel like they aren't using Google Analytics to its potential. It's really frustrating. We hear from a lot of our clients and from the sector. The fun thing about analytics is that it tells a story about user behavior. Analytics is really just a compilation of thousands of website visits that allow you to understand how people are journeying through your site. However, losing the story due to data overload is a common challenge. This particular screen grab here has 64,000 lines of data. Now, how are you going to make heads or tails of this? Data must provide actual insights to guide your decisions. So I'm going to give you an example of what that means. A lot of organizations spend an incredible amount of effort thinking about their homepage. So this is what we say, where we think users are entering, but in reality, this is where users are actually entering. Because of Google, most people are not even going to an organization's homepage. They're entering on a production detail page or a performance listing page. And we find that when we look at the analytics, this is a much more interesting way to look at analytics. Let's look at the percentage of page entry. And what does this tell us? Well, more people are entering on the performance detail page template, or in the case of Seattle Symphony, the concert detail page. Taken as a template, most people are entering there. So in that case, that page has to do more heavy lifting if the user's not been to the home page. And we know landing page performance varies significantly. So bounce rates tend to be higher on the performance detail page than on the home page and on the performance listing page. So understanding that unique user behavior, why are people bouncing on that page? It's because they're finding information they want, or they're just doing research. So looking at pages on a template level really allows you to make improvements. The performance detail page actually as a landing page, which means you need to design it differently. It means you have to incorporate branding and inspiration and promotions and media because people are not necessarily going to a homepage. And most organizations are spending that promotional, talking about events or other things to see. If someone just goes to a landing page of your site and doesn't see what else is offered in the season, that's a real missed opportunity. So I'm going to show you an example here with Seattle Opera. We did an analysis for them, and this data we gave them was your performance detail pages are your landing pages, and so you need to use them as such. So if we look here, this is actually their performance detail page. It looks like a home page. But you see here, we're cross-promoting stuff in the season. We're cross-promoting ways to save. And of course, we're giving the information about the opera, the bios, the headshots, the photos, but we're also giving other information here. Plan your visit, cross-promoting the rest of the season, giving people links to the other shows, information about location, because this is a landing page and people are not making it to the home page. So really, Google is your home page. And so you have to really think, so my point of that is, if you understand the user experience and you crunch the data, you can then design your site to better fulfill that. We talk about evolution, not revolution. More than half of arts organizations redesigned their website in the past 3 years. For you arts administrators, you realize that's a massive drain on resources. Charlie, you've recently been through a website redesign. It takes a ton of work, a ton of money, and a ton of time, plus you have the rest of your job to do. And generally, once a website gets redesigned, a lot of organizations let it sit there and get old, and so it gets less effective. And you get together, you do a website redesign, and then you let it sit there for 5 more years. So we say, rather than investing, say, $500,000 every 5 years, invest $100,000 every year and iterate and make your site better by taking the analytics, understanding the data, and making incremental improvements that are going to improve your conversion. And one way we get at this is around site optimization and A/B testing. So marketers are natural experimenters. We're A/B testing our Facebook posts, we're A/B testing our email, we're A/B testing our search ads, but we're often not A/B testing our website. And these website redesigns, like I said, they're expensive, they're all-encompassing, they're not happening very much, and most of all, they're risky. What if after all the money and time there is no impact, or worse, sales are down? We've seen that happen before because you're changing everything. We must extend our culture of experimentation on websites. So here, software that we use, where we're going to change this button. We're going to see if sign up versus register makes a difference. And we're going to pull a percentage of the traffic to each version of the page, and in real time, we're going to see which converts better. Or here, we're moving the schedule here to the first place on the navigation, and we're going to see, does that get more people to the schedule page? It's a data-driven process to optimize our sites, where we focus on the data to understand what we're going to test. We make a hypothesis. We keep the majority of people going to the control, so it's a safe environment where we're not going to break anything. And then we make a decision. If our A/B test, the B version, performs better, then we can roll it out to the larger website for everyone. So it's a win-win. If you find something that improves your conversion rate, you implement it and you win. If you lose and your guess is wrong, well, guess what? You just saved the money and you're not going to have to spend the development dollars to change your website. So here's a quick case study with another Seattle organization, the Pacific Northwest Ballet. They did this ballet, the series of ballets called American Stories, and it was launched on their new mobile site. And this is the mobile site as it existed. This is the landing page for that particular performance. And you see it's a very, very long page, a content-rich page, which is wonderful. However, the Buy Tickets button was very, very low. There it is on the site. There was the Buy Tickets button. And we were like, that's pretty far down the page. What if we did a test and brought it to the top of the page where it was right there? Well, guess what? We saw a 60% lift in clicks on the Buy Tickets button. And of course, they're going to implement that change. That's just one example of how A/B testing can dramatically improve your websites. We like to say, if it's digital, measure something. Okay, last point here, lead generation. If you're going to focus on permission marketing, you have to focus on getting email addresses, getting more social followers, getting more pixeled users. And the more of those you have, it directly impacts your ability to communicate, cultivate, and drive actions from constituents. This is a very old website from the ASPCA, and I show it because it is a lead generation machine. 9 places here. They're trying to get you to join them on social media or join their email list. Do you think this is a cat contest? No, it is a way to get your email address so they can send you emails to ask you for money. Right here on most arts websites, if you wanted to join email, this is their Pacific Northwest Ballet's old website, you have this e-news sign up button here. Very few people are clicking e-news sign up. You have to be much more active and aggressive about asking for email addresses. We invented this plugin called Audacity, which is much more bold, much more aggressive. We see about 2% of people providing an email address, which then makes it much cheaper to reach them in the future. So this plugin links with a lot of different email systems. It's very quick and allows our clients very quickly to start collecting more email addresses, which allows them to begin a permission-based relationship with their users with their constituents much sooner. Hillary is very good with digital marketing. In fact, our bootcamp keynote is all about what the arts can learn from digital. I got this in my news. Does Hillary want me to sign her e-card? No. Hillary wants my email address. But it's very simple. I just give my zip code, my email address, and now I get all my emails from Hillary. Pacific Northwest Ballet has embraced this. Tune in live, watch a PNB rehearsal in the City Center Balancing program via our live stream. I click sign up. I'm going to a page very similar to Hillary where they're collecting lots of leads. This has served them very, very well and decreased their marketing expenses. So we say the cost of anything free should always address, or you can add, or a social follow-up. I'd like to end with this. All great changes are preceded by chaos. I presented a lot here. Often when I share this with arts marketers, it's a lot, it's overwhelming, but we think it's a step in the right direction. And thank you for your time. So Charlie, do you have any questions?
Yeah, Eric, this was, first of all, thank you. That was really terrific. I think one of the questions, kind of a perennial question is, and one that our students might be thinking about is, okay, this is all great. What if I wind up at a smaller institution without much in the way of resources? How can I take advantage of digital marketing in that regard?
Well, I think the first thing is to, if you're a small organization, you should be more involved in digital marketing, where there's actually a case study on our website for this client called the Art League, which is a 2-person marketing department. They offer art classes and gallery exhibitions in Alexandria, Virginia, right by DC. They were, 2 years ago, I met them at the National Arts Marketing Conference, and they were spending 90% of their money on traditional marketing, where they were buying print ads and they were buying radio. Very quickly, the marketing department realized they should embrace more digital. We started working with them and focusing all of those dollars mostly on Facebook. And they moved from investing 90% of their dollars on traditional to 90% on digital, most of that in Facebook, through storytelling, and increased their sales for the year by 7%. So, what they did was they educated themselves. They learned how to social storytell. They invested resources in good photography. They got smart about social storytelling. And, this sounds self-serving, but you can't do it all internally. This stuff changes too quickly. And so they were smart. They had a very limited budget, but they found a way to work with us to leverage our expertise to train them of what they needed to do. And we do some of the heavy lifting in terms of their Facebook targeting. But they now have fundamentally changed how they resource. Instead of spending that money on print, they're spending that money on photography and video. So I think it's even more important for organizations to get educated and shift their spending priorities.
So we're here in 2016. What do you think the landscape for digital marketing is going to look like, say, in the next 3 years?
That's a good question. I think it's going to certainly get even more mobile. I'm really excited about, looking forward. I'm really excited about Snapchat. I think every organization that's trying to speak to a younger audience should take advantage of Snapchat's geo-filters. And what that is I'm sure everyone, hopefully, taking this class has, well, I shouldn't say that. It's a very cool, and you can geographically geofence an area. So say at Seattle Symphony, you can design a filter that people can superimpose over their photos and you pay a little bit of money to get the Seattle Symphony branded filter that would then go on people's photos. So I'm excited to see how Snapchat grows. I think it's such an interesting platform that is really exciting younger users. I think it's really going to grow. It's going to continue to grow. So I'm super excited about that. I think investment in mobile, it's just at a point right now where organizations that haven't invested in mobile, that have a clunky, slow e-commerce platform on mobile, are just going to get really hurt, because a lot of people, there's a world of people that never, their mobile device is their primary vehicle for researching and purchasing. And if you're not investing in a great mobile purchase experience, you're going to be in pain. So I think more and more we see the prevalence of mobile. And you look at the social platforms that are succeeding, Instagram and Snapchat, they're mobile only. We're going to see more and more mobile only businesses, and it's really interesting, even in the Broadway space, to look at competitors coming in like Today Ticks, which is a mobile app platform that is reinvigorating young ticket buyers, and they're really challenging the industry that is very sort of traditional and has been a little slower to move in the mobile space. And Today Ticks is invigorating and driving a whole new generation of people to go to Broadway because they've figured out mobile ticketing. So I think that's an exciting space to keep watching.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I'm really, and I appreciate your time with our students at the university.
My pleasure. Let me just do a quick plug. We are always looking for interns. We have 2 interns here at all times. We often hire our interns. And so if you're really into this stuff and you want to spend a summer in New York or a semester in New York, check out our internship program.
Great. All right, Erik. Thanks so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Charlie.